Re, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. And I was a choir kid. Hello everyone in this YouTube world. Today, I'm going to be covering a special I have been wanting to talk about for such a long time. It's when Wizards of Waverly Place went on the sweet life on deck with Hannah Montana. Best of both worlds. This is another trilogy of crossover episodes, just like it was with That's So Sweet Life of Hannah Montana. And I believe this was the last time we really saw the trilogy of crossover episodes, because Disney only did like dual crossover episodes or crossover cameo appearances. And I say that every Disney Channel crossover is iconic, but this one I think stuck with a lot of people just because of how diverse each show was. We literally got wizards, magic, and the whole lore of the wizard world on the Sweet Life on deck with Hannah Montana, and I think that there are so many iconic moments. The crossover aired probably when Disney Channel was at its peak, in my opinion, and that's just because so many of the Disney Channel original series at the time were just pumping out content. I mean, Wizards of Waverly Place, literally, they did this crossover, then they did the Wizards versus Vampires series, and then they did Wizards of Waverly Place the movie. This was the season 1 finale of the Sweet Life on deck, but it was a really big time for Hannah Montana too, because He Could Be the One is about to come out. There are some critiques I have about these episodes. I'm gonna get to it a little bit later on in the video. Let's get into Wizards on deck with Hannah Montana. Ooh-ay-oh. Let's go. I don't know if y'all remember this. Whenever the crossover first aired, they did a Rubik's Cube mashup of all 3 theme songs. Iconic. My like 8-year-old self watching that had goosebumps. Also, everyone just wants to date each other in these episodes. It's really weird. Y'all just met each other. Honestly, this crossover has a really great childhood memory for me. I remember sitting down on my living room carpet at my house in Pennsylvania, and my dad and I, we were writing invitation letters on these like little movie ticket cards, and we were gonna send them out for my birthday because my birthday was literally just right around the corner. He watched the crossover special with me. Also, as a kid, I would always tell my family, whenever there was a giant Disney Channel special on TV, I would always say, I need to be home by 8/7 Central. The crossover starts on Wizards of Waverly Place with season 2, episode 25, called Cast Away to Another Show. This was the first introduction I had to the Wizards universe, because I wasn't allowed to watch Wizards of Waverly Place growing up. So I really didn't know what the show was like. I just knew there was magic involved. So pretty much how the crossover begins is Justin won a contest for an essay to get on the SS Tipton's teen cruise to Hawaii with barely any chaperones. Mr. Mosby, Miley's dad, and Kirby the security guard are the only adults that are on this cruise ship. Alex is having to make up some schoolwork because she is falling behind. Then she gets on deck, and then the family is like, okay, since you already figured out that there's a school on deck, you can stay. And one thing I really loved about the Wizards episode is it really brought prominence to Hannah and London Tipton's characters and their placehold in the Disney Channel universe. Well, we always knew that London Tipton and Hannah Montana were both very prominent figures, but it's interesting to note that they already know of these characters before they even meet them. So I think that's just a really interesting aspect, and I really fell in love with the Wizards humor in this episode. The banter between Teresa and Mr. Mosby about her being like freaked out about how big the boat is. The Russos are like, did he just say magic? I really liked the trippy transitions with the Wizards like overlays on top of the SS Tipton. I just thought it was really cool. And Alex Russo is a manifesting queen. No, she literally says a line, and I literally think about it to this day. If you start acting like something is going to happen, a lot of time it just does. And that's how she got on the cruise ship. That's how she was able to transport Harper there. And Harper belonged on the SS Tipton longer. Her inclusion on deck was needed and is so important, and I wish we got more of it. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Harper made an entrance. Someone on RuPaul's Drag Race needs to like recreate that sort of entrance, the team up of Max and Zach is just perfect. I love how this episode, the creators really divided the Wizards characters to be with a Sweet Life character. I think they really balance it well. They mentioned Hannah Montana in the Wizards episode, and Debbie Ryan, she strutted across all of these crossovers. She literally owned the Disney Channel universe. There are plot points that kind of cover throughout the multiple episode arc. The first episode talked about like lookalikes and mistaken identity. It's really funny because there was setup there for what I'm gonna gripe about later. It's really funny because Alex is just nonchalantly trying to enjoy her time on this cruise, but she ends up bringing more attention on herself with every activity she does. Why didn't they keep Harper on deck? They needed to keep Harper on deck. What was the plot? What was the reason for putting her on deck? You're not telling me a scene between Bailey Pickett and Harper would not be iconic? Now we're gonna switch it on over. Season 1, episode 21, Double Cross. This episode is great because it immediately starts out with mentioning Hannah Montana coming on deck. We also get a nod to That's So Sweet Life of Hannah Montana because Cody mentions how she stayed at the Tipton Hotel. That is a common plot thread that goes throughout the crossover special, and I think that's really interesting that they would even mention it. I don't understand why Miley didn't just walk on the SS Tipton as Miley Stewart, and she literally could have like docked in Hawaii, got ready at the show, and then just came on stage as Hannah Montana. But I guess I can kind of see if she had like events she had to go to, because I'm pretty sure they probably had meet and greets. They need better security on this cruise because Kirby is working his tail end off. How many teens are on this cruise? But I hate how Justin talks down to Alex, especially in this episode. But this is also an important plot point that actually comes to a head of the whole Wizards saga. Also, Justin mentioned that they had a cat. When did the Russos ever have a cat? I might be dumb. And I really like how the Sweet Life episode really just, like, they weren't involved with each other, but Zach and Cody still had mayhem with one another. The last time we get to see the Wizards in this crossover special is when literally Justin is chasing Max off the cruise ship. And at this point, you know, Bailey and Cody were able to get concert tickets because Hannah finally recognized them as like, oh yeah, that's right, I did eat cake off of your brother. And then we get to a Hannah Montana episode that's mainly just about Hannah Montana with some Sweet Life cameos. It's fine. It's an interesting way to close out the crossover. The episode still has prominence in the Hannah Montana universe because it talks mainly about Miley's mom. Hannah Montana season 3, episode 20, Superstitious Girl. Yeah, I think it's Superstitious Girl. We find out Miley lost her mom's anklet. And honestly, this episode frustrates me a lot because there's a lot of things that just don't make sense in a normal world. Literally, the housekeeping staff found her anklet and they didn't put it on like a desk or on the bed or even let Miley know to be like, hey, I found the anklet in one of your socks. And instead, she gave it to the manager that also London grabbed. And London was like, ooh, sparkly, 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 sparkly. And then she threw the anklet over the edge of the cruise ship into the waters of the sea. London, you of all people should understand that London Tipton threw the anklet off the cruise ship made me so mad. Controversial opinion. This Hannah Montana look only works for the Hannah Montana movie and not an entire season of television. I really don't like the Jackson, Rico, Oliver side plot where they're trying to open this package and it ends up being an inflatable house that ends up smushing them against the door, and that's literally their whole plot. And then there's a plot where literally Billy Ray Cyrus is throwing up and just not having a good time. And then he pulls through whenever Miley needs him the most. And then there's a whole, oh, is Hannah gonna have her concert or not between Bailey and Cody. Also, the idea of Miley dyeing her hair blonde to become Hannah just sounds like a disaster idea. It just doesn't make sense. And honestly, the crossover just ends. She's literally like, I tell you, man, it's all right here. And then the crossover literally ends. And I'm just like, That's it. I do like the fact that we got more Hannah Montana involvement in this crossover. I kind of wish at least one of the Russo family members could appear in the final episode. And I think there was a theory going online where people were saying Alex Russo created the doppelganger Michaela, and Alex is literally Michaela, and that's why they never had a scene. No, I don't see her wanting to be a superstar. It just doesn't seem like her character. There is so much they could have done to incorporate the Wizards and Hannah Montana to bring them all together. They were able to do it with That's So Raven, so what is different now? I was kind of anticipating this big crossover moment where we get to see all three shows come together, and we never saw that. And that's not a Mandela effect or a conspiracy theory, that just was never there, because they could have really introduced some important and interesting plot points. Like, it would have been interesting if we would have seen Miley, you know, low-key reveal her secret that she's Hannah Montana accidentally to Alex Russo, and then Alex Russo accidentally reveals she's a wizard to Miley, but then they have to work together because Miley has bad luck because she lost her mom's inklet. Like, they could have easily incorporated at least one wizard's character into the plot. I also think they could have included Jackson, Oliver, and Rico on deck. There's just a lot they could have done there because they already mentioned lookalikes in this episode. They could have easily done the whole, oh, hey, Miley could have had this whole, like, I don't know why the writers never wrote a scene for them to play out. I think that's a total miss on their part, because the crossover special would have been perfect if they had a moment where the Wizards, The Sweet Life, and Hannah Montana all came together for one iconic moment. I really want to know the production behind this episode, because it really feels like the Wizards and the Sweet Life episodes fit very well together, but the Hannah Montana episode kind of feels out of place, and I think it's just because the Russos aren't involved. It's so close to being perfect. I was expecting us to see an appearance from the Russos at the concert because they won this teen cruise to Hawaii, so I guess I should probably assume that they won tickets to the Hannah Montana concert. This crossover came out in a very pivotal time in Disney Channel's history. They were offering big specials and movies based off these Disney Channel original series. If you think about it, all of the series involved with this crossover got their own movie. This was when Disney Channel, I believe, was at its peak. They delivered. Hannah Montana got its own theatrical movie. Disney Channel knew what they were doing in that time period, except with the Sweet Life movie. Oh my goodness, that movie's so bad. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at TyTyWhitehead. I love you guys so much, and I will be talking to you guys very soon.